November 2020, the Museum Association of New York received IMLS CARES Act funding to support museums in reaching their audiences digitally throughout the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi, I'm Amanda Schroeder.
My name is Jan Huff.
My name is Natasha Bishop.
My name is Natalie Rudd.
I'm Liz Callahan.
I'm Derek Pratt.
And together with colleagues at more than 96 museums across the state, they've built new technical and program development skills while sharing stories of their collections and communities. Over 178 museum professionals have participated in building capacity, creating sustainability, growing accessibility.
Big question for us at the start of the pandemic was, how do we preserve, cultivate, and continue to support our communities in an intimate, thoughtful, and intentional way when we couldn't share physical space? And while the pandemic has brought much trauma, pain, and loss, it has also afforded so many of us the opportunity to experiment, play, think way outside the box, and to consider what are offerings that are not replicas of in-person experiences, but are instead custom-made to be digitally native. Offerings that have the potential to reach a wider and more diverse audience than we could possibly accommodate in our physical space.
So we have, for a long time, not had access to use some of our spaces virtually because of limitations we've had with equipment and having electricity to do things and having the internet access to do things, especially as our campus is about 100 acres. With our building capacity tools, we've been able to reach other people who are not able to make it to Staten Island or are not able to leave their houses so that they can experience our mission from home.
So we're really trying to use these digital initiatives to establish better accessibility practices so that wider swaths of our community can really engage with our artwork and appreciate our artwork and come to be a part of the dialogue.
We are a national museum that honors women throughout the United States. However, our reach has been mostly regional within the Finger Lakes region for the last 50 years. So we are really expanding nationally now, and our virtual presence has been a huge part of that because we are able to make the hall accessible for people that aren't here in the Finger Lakes or don't have the capabilities to come to the Finger Lakes, but still want to learn a lot about the incredible 293 inductees that we have here in the hall.
It's amazing that people from all over the country and other countries have participated in the virtual programs. We never would have thought of being able to reach audiences far and wide, despite the fact that we certainly have something very unique to offer people.
Our Year One project, Last Address Tribute Walk Harlem, was created in collaboration with the longstanding partner Visual Aids. The project exists as a resource page on our website, and our goal was to make visible some of the seemingly invisible, forgotten, or overlooked narratives of the Black creative communities who grappled with HIV/AIDS in Harlem at the height of the epidemic in the 80s and 90s. And while Visual Aids has done Last Address Tribute Walks in other parts of New York City, this was the first project focused uptown as well as centered on capturing and acknowledging the experiences of communities of color. The page is anchored by an interactive map featuring addresses across Harlem that were sites of activism and advocacy, belonging, care, leisure, and play. Additionally, the page features a survey that encourages publics to add sites and memories onto the map, oral histories, and commission works of art.
We have been telling a story here at the museum we recognized that was not particularly inclusive. It had this very dominant narrative that is seen throughout the canal corridor. And luckily, right as this grant program arrived, we were really starting to think critically about kind of how we could change that. Went over to Scano, being our local Haudenosaunee Cultural Center, and Sarah and I just started talking. We were like, oh, we could do some projects together and introduce to both of our audiences these really important conversations that seem to be missing. Some of the talks we had, they were our most well-attended of the year. It was really popular with both of our audiences, and we were getting people from around the country tuning in.
Using our ring light and our microphones, we were able to close the doors of the Guiding Light Tyson house, which we usually don't get to do because that's where most of the light comes from. And it was really important to us that we close the doors because we get a lot of traffic noise. So the fact that we were able to block out that sound was changing. It was game changing in the entire scheme of building a virtual program in that house, because otherwise it would have been an off limits thing for us.
I'm hyper aware that we can't let go of digital. I think we, in the last 2 years, have been able to reach publics that we would have never been able to reach before because of, geography, because of economics, because of accessibility, people who have never been able to come to Harlem to attend a public program. Also because of Zoom, cart captioning became a template, and we're also using ASL interpretation as well now. And those weren't things that we were necessarily using with any consistency or regularity. And I think a lot of institutions across the board are also thinking about accessibility of the full spectrum of audiences in ways that when we were in person, I think we took that for granted. And so to go back in person and to then take away all of these opportunities for audiences, it feels like a disservice. So I'm very mindful of what stays digital and what needs to be in person. Like, what are the experiences that warrant a particular level of in-person intimacy and connection? That should be in person. And then digital really could be about the wider spectrum of a conversation can be virtual and you can reach a larger audience.